Hello, everybody. It is Mike Young, a digital nomad. That's my name if you don't know me from the channel yet. But I've got a pretty serious video here, and this I intend to be a series of videos, serious series, called The Relationship Recession. And these videos are going to deal with male and female heterosexual dating. And I know there's many other types of relationships and dating, but these, let's get right into this video, right into the plant meat and potatoes of this video. Okay, it's a complicated topic. It's real if you don't realize it. Okay, depending upon your age. If you're older, you're like, what's this guy talking about? But if you're in your 20s or younger, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, I am not there, but I recognize what's going on, and it has to do with this digital lifestyle. I'd say it's a combination of several factors. I would say that number one, it's social media, which is, no, let's say it's the internet. It's the internet in general. And the main issues here are social media for one gender, the females, and pornography for men. Okay, that's the internet facet of this. The other part is the fact that women are far more educated than they used to be via traditional education, and really out earn men in terms of the average person. The educational system is designed for women. They do better, they perform better, and they end up earning more money. The average person that goes through the system, the females get further and they earn more money now in 2023. It's just the way it is, okay? I'm not here to argue that point. I'm just here to comment on it. So we've got those two things, the internet, women earning more, and the concept of hypergamy. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but the short definition of hypergamy is that someone, one of the sexes, we're dealing with heterosexual relationships here, and in this case, it would be typically women, are trying to basically get into a relationship or a sexual relationship, even if it's nothing more than that, where they are, playing up. They're going something that's going to give them more social status, more money, more resources, et cetera, et cetera. They're always looking to do better. And when you combine that, you can see already with the fact that women are earning more, you're going to have a problem. All right, let's go. I've got an outline here so that I don't miss anything. Let me start with just the concept of relationships in general. Again, if you're not in your 20s or younger, you may not know what I'm talking about. If you are in your 20s or younger, please comment below so people can understand that this is real. Okay, tell people that this is real. This is what's actually going on. Relationships, like most things in life, are a balance. All right. I have a book called Live to 150. It's totally free. It's at liveto150.org. You can check it out there. So much of that is about the concept of balance in life in general. Now, relationships are a part of life, of course, and this part of life has to remain in balance in order for these things to survive and thrive, these relationships. Now, in the traditional world, there wasn't a whole lot of choices or anywhere near the opportunities there are today. And that's really, in my mind, what's affecting people is the explosion, like behind me here, of opportunities, okay? The internet is an opportunity. Porn on the internet is an opportunity for guys. Social media on the internet is an opportunity for girls. And actually, it's kind of weird because I'm really into social media, okay? But let me explain. I'll explain further. You'll understand what I'm talking about as we get along in this video. The other thing is educational opportunities. These are, for women, this is what's changed the dynamic here as well. And hypergamy, of course, is just simple opportunity seeking. You could even call it gold digging. You can call it whatever you want. Let me know in the comments, okay? I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here. I'm just trying to say it like it is. All right, let's get into it. So first of all, consider for a minute the idea that maybe you don't even want to be in a relationship, because the reality is, in my mind at least, and I was born in 1970, so recording this video, I'm 53 years young. There was always some benefits, and there was a good balance, I'd say, in relationships overall. The divorce rate, I guess, during my lifetime, started to skyrocket. That's one of the things that's going on here too. Is just people making observations about the high rate of divorce of people, and we'll get into what the purpose of marriage is there. And of course, just bad relationships in general. People staying in marriages that don't want to stay in marriages, not knowing how to handle them, looking at all these other opportunities, they throw off the balance. So you need to think right now. What I want you to do in the beginning of this video is think in 2023, if you are not in a relationship right now, do you even want to be in a relationship? If you're not in one, if you're going to start from scratch, like a romantic or a sexual or a best friend or whatever you want to say, do you even want to do this? My thought is when I do the analysis that most people that are younger, in their 20s or younger, don't want to do it, especially if you're a guy. Now, if you're a girl, there's this other part to it. So the dynamic, of course, it's your biological clock is ticking. All right. And also the fact that most men usually prefer younger women, usually around 22 years of age is, I think, the point that most people are saying is optimal anyway. So women are looking at it differently, but for men especially, definitely, I don't think they want to be in a relationship. Women realize that that's their prime, okay? Or if you don't realize it now, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but the internet is just flooded with information about this, that women really, women reach their peak value, I'd say, at about 22 years of age. That's just the reality, okay? From a point of view of a man that wants to be involved in a traditional relationship, that's a caveat. Because not everybody wants to be involved in a traditional relationship. I'm just saying that if I look at this now, 2020 hindsight, looking into the past, it's always been that way, right? If I think about it. But is it that way anymore? Because maybe a woman doesn't view herself as, just wanting to get into this relationship and, I don't know, at 22, like getting her biggest catch of a guy, I guess, because it could be that woman is in school, or she is an entrepreneur, or she's on the internet, she's got a YouTube channel, okay, like I've got here, or whatever the case may be. There could be many different reasons nowadays, not just the one traditional thing. So I'm trying to cover a lot of ground here. Let me know where you all fit in. Let me know your age, actually, in the comments, if you don't mind. Let me know your age. Let me know where you fit in with this equation, because it's a very, very complicated and complex equation as far as I'm concerned. All right, so in it also, let's since we're talking about traditional relationships, let's zero in on them. In a traditional relationship, a man, number one thing that a man wants out of a long-term or short-term, but especially a long-term, we're talking about more long-term married type relationships, a man wants sex, all right? And in a traditional relationship, he has to find someone that's willing to give him sex in exchange for time, attention, and resources, okay? Because in a traditional relationship, maybe a woman couldn't find that attention. She couldn't get that time devoted to her, right? It was harder to get that. And resources, of course. If a woman was not the breadwinner in the past, you had to find somebody that provided the resources, okay? So men who are out there in the dating market and looking around and wanting to know whether I should be in this relationship, and of course they see the divorce rate is very high. The quality of these relationships is poor. They see a lot of bad examples, and I can admit to providing some bad examples over the years, unfortunately. All right, but for them, porn is close enough, because porn gets you sex. It's masturbation, basically, is what it is, but it gets you that end result without any of the baggage that goes along. And it's not just the time, attention, and resources. Like I said, it's the fact that the hypergamy aspect, women are looking up. Men don't even think they have necessarily anything going on. So if you're talking about guys in their 20s, like women peak at 22, like I said, in a traditional relationship. Guys in their 20s, especially if they're not hard workers like Generation X, right? Okay, that's what I am. It seems like nowadays nobody's like that anymore. Nobody's a hard worker. So the men aren't leveling up in their 20s. But they also know that the women want the older guys with more resources, and they want the hypergamy. They want to marry up. So the guys know that they don't have much of a chance in their 20s. So Porn is the thing for them. They're not even trying to date. So many of them, I'm serious, they're not even trying. Think about this. Think about people you know. If you're in your 20s or younger, comment below, because I definitely see this and it makes sense to me. I was in my 20s. I was 22 in 1992. It was a different world. There was no internet at the time, okay? It was a totally different world. It's crazy. And even back then, women had their, they want to try to have a kid by 35 to avoid birth defects and other kind of complications and make sure they can have kids. And guys still, they knew they could wait, but it wasn't that divided. I'd say like the women and men are divided like Democrats and Republicans these days. It's crazy. All right, so that's men. How about women? Women want time, attention, and resources in a traditional relationship. That's the caveat, all right? And they're willing to give up sex to get it. That's how that works. Now, social media, if you look at social media, I run so many groups on social media. Let's take Facebook, for example. So many of these groups, at least 3/4 of them are women. 3/4 of the active users are women. Men aren't really into that. Men aren't really into the feelings and talking and communicating. And I'm actually so surprised that so many typing conversations still go on these days. Typing is just like so old school. It's basically akin to writing somebody a letter or going on a typewriter as far as I'm concerned. But people still use it, okay? So that's just the way it is. And women, of course, they get lots of attention with their provocative pictures. You see these in the gym, everywhere, okay? The new outfit, they just walked out of the salon. They just want all the likes and all the attention. And they get that through social media. You don't see guys doing that so much. I guess I could get out there with one of these, right? And well, actually, I've seen people out there like this, right? I look huge. It's like you got to get the picture from up at this angle. Anybody looks good, okay? I guess guys could do that. I guess I could do that all day long too. All right, but I'm not going to. I'm too busy managing my groups. Truly, I've been doing this for 10 plus years now. It's crazy how much there's just not enough hours in the day. You should be glad I'm making this video. Oh, and by the way, it is a sacrifice to make this video. If you can, please find it in the goodness of your heart. If you're getting some value out of this anyway, look down below to the right, down below here. Okay? Where my green screen's messing up. Excuse me. I wish I had a glass of water. Anyway, down below here, there are 3 dots or there's a thanks button. And that 3 dots or the thanks button can kind of take you into the super thanks function where you can give me a wonderful donation. Thank you, please, because it really does help me stay motivated to make these videos. And hopefully I'm delivering some value to you, providing some insight. So please donate in relation and correspondence in whatever, what's the word? Something that matches the amount of value that you've derived from this video. I would greatly appreciate it. So that's super thanks function. If you're not familiar with it, 3 dots down here below or the thanks button, and it opens up the super thanks. You can get in there, function where you can make a donation. Thank you so much. All right, continuing. So, in your 20s, especially if you're a guy, let's go back to guys, the computer simulation and networking is what's going on. There's no rejection aspect in there if you're a guy, because as we talked about earlier, the hypergamy thing and the fact that women are doing better in college, the reality is school is better designed for women. It just is, okay? In terms of paying attention, in terms of the whole process that it is, which is basically rote memorization and learning and regurgitating, okay? Even though, and I can make a whole other video on schools, especially higher education, how I think it is totally not even worth it anymore unless it's something you really want to do. It's your real life purpose or something like that, then go for it. But it is not even a good value financially anymore, considering what you have to pay, the hoops you have to jump through, when you can just go online like I am, start up a YouTube channel, do something else online. There's so many opportunities online. It's just absolutely ridiculous. All right, now what about marriage? If all these relationships are kind of jockeying for position, that's a bad analogy because I'm vegan, okay? I don't want to talk about any of that. So forget that. Forget I said that. Marriage is probably designed primarily to have and raise children in a uh, optimal situation. And I know that, I didn't provide that an optimal situation. I tried, all right? And others have tried, and of course, others have failed miserably, including myself. The divorce rate is over 50%, and that doesn't count the marriages that are bad that are still staying together. So when you're growing up in that and you see that, and that's all you see in the last generation or two, they've seen a lot of that. Okay, if you've seen a lot of that, let me know in the comments down below. Okay, let me know what you think about this. I'd love to hear. Let's see if I can fix my green screen. Look at that. I fixed it. Okay. I would love to hear what you say. And by the way, those are 3 dots. Don't forget 3 dots. Super thanks function. Thank you so much. All right. I would love to hear what you say about marriage, because people are moving away. People aren't focusing on marriage so much, especially if you're a guy. So much of this knowledge, not all of it, because you're watching this. I know not everyone knows this. This is why I feel the need and the motivation to make this video. The hypergamy aspect, so many people know about it. Okay, the fertility aspect. Women, 35 is your deadline. Men, 45 is your deadline. Sometimes 50. All right. So you're not in any kind of hurry. Slow down. I'm trying to tell this to the men. I'm a guy. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Take it easy. Especially when you're going to hear the rest of this video, you're going to understand the big mess. Okay. So if marriage is designed to have and raise kids, men are pretty much going to be checked out in their 20s, not going to be doing much. Women are going to be, by the end of their 20s, freaking out. Okay. But men, by the time you're in your 30s, we know that the women that you really want are 22. Okay. And that's someone who you will probably have a much better chance of having a healthy child with. The reality is, I'm talking about from a practical standpoint, not even the look standpoint. Okay. That's just the way biology works. Women have a deadline that's 10 years sooner. I know there's not a lot of focus on this, and there hasn't been in traditional education and conversations, but I'm trying to make this more than normal. It needs to be talked about more. So let me also mention my own wife, Denise, because she is the greatest as far as I'm concerned. I tell her this on a regular basis. I try to tell her that every day. I think that we are both of a similar age. We grew up in a similar time frame. There was no internet when we were growing up. All this has happened around us. I can't only imagine what it's like growing up today. And but I don't think her or I fit into a lot of what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is people who are in that position, not jockeying. I don't know what you call it. Okay, where they're trying to develop a successful long-term relationship, if that's what they even want. And like I'm trying to also alluding to here is that a lot of people, I think, are not going to want this going forward, not going to want a long-term relationship because they can get one on the internet, both men and women, right? Talked about it. Men, it's porn. Women, it's OnlyFans or just social media in general, the likes and the attention and everything else, okay? The friendship circles, all this stuff. All right. Yeah, let's see. Another thing that's based on, I'd say this is solely, I don't want to get a lot of hate comments, although I'm sure I will, okay? Men, this is for traditional relationships. Men have to give up more to be in a relationship with a woman than a woman gives up to be in a relationship with a man. Now, all things equal, when you're talking about someone older, I hear older people talking about this. Yes, okay, probably yes, in the past, but that's in the past, not anymore, okay? I'd say like, men, gosh, yeah, there's a lot going on, okay? I think we all know that women use way more words than men do during the course of a day. There's a lot of drama or chaos involved with many of relationships with women. It seems like women, more so than men, correct me if I'm wrong here in the comments, like to gossip and spread all kinds of stuff. A lot of men just want nothing to do with that. So men have to be willing to live in a world like that they don't necessarily even want to live in. And in the past, it was like, either I find that 1 in a million person, which I think I have, thankfully, okay, or you just put up with this bullshit, or or you just don't ever get into any relationship of any kind. But now we're moving in terms of the maturity of the internet and the long tail of the internet, where you can get everything you want with almost none of the negative side effects. And if you think it's good now, okay, if you're a guy in your 20s or whatever, or a girl with the OnlyFans and all the people liking stuff and you posting all your pictures online at the gym and everything else, okay, then just wait. I mean, I think that with AI and robotics and all this other stuff, you're going to see stuff that you won't believe, and it's going to be coming here soon. So it's not going to be that long. But I'm recording this video in 2023. It's not going to be that long. All right, now let's talk about the concept of hypergamy. Again, I kind of just brought that up earlier because it's kind of weaves into all this. It's interwoven and as a dynamic, and it's more of a traditional dynamic, the hypergamy thing, because it's more of a woman trying to, marry up, I guess, with a man, like an older guy. Women want an older guy with money and more experience. But they also want an older guy. This is like a side note on this, without kid baggage and other stuff. So they actually prefer you guys. Listen to this. Let me be very clear. As I've alluded to, and I've straight out said, guys probably need to take their 20s off. They prefer that you do, because when you're in your 30s and close to 40, and you really have it set exactly the way your life's going to be, that's when they really want you. That's when the 22-year-old actually really wants you. It's kind of ridiculous that this is the world we live in, but it is how it goes. So it's another thing, the reason you want to wait. Of course, I didn't take my own advice, but I grew up in a different era, all right? And now that this is more well-known and more talked about, it wasn't so well-known and talked about back in 1992 or whatever, okay? It wasn't, but it is now. So I'm just giving this advice out. Another thing, so women usually date through their 20s. Men can skip to their 20s and wait. That's hypergamy. That's more of a traditional relationship. Let's talk about meeting organically as a concept here, because most of what I've discussed already has to do with meeting on the internet and using different tools that you can find on the internet. That's what I'll call them. And tools that have not yet been developed, AI, robotics. It's going to be a crazy world out there in a few years. Is there any more meeting organically? That's the thing. I mean, have we moved on from that era? Because like a lot of times, like in the past, in the not too distant past, it's like you met through friends, through mutual friends, or you just happened to see somebody at the right place at the right time. Nobody ever heard about 20 or so years ago of meeting anybody on the internet. And if you did, it was probably something really bad happened and someone ended up in jail. Okay, that's the way it was. But now everybody meets on the internet. So is there any more meeting organically? I don't know. I mean, I do see some people who are maybe like maybe hopeless romantics, or maybe they're not living in the past because they're younger. I see some younger folks who are like, oh, I only want to meet somebody organically. And maybe that is the way. Let me know. Let me know your age. Let me know how you think. Maybe you've put all this together, this massive equation that we've discussed already. I haven't even finished all of it yet. And you're thinking, there's no way any of this is ever going to work out. Not long term, anyway. I've got to wait until the right person just shows up one day and leave it to fate or serendipity or something like that. Let me know. I'd be interested, because I think that most relationships, we already know this going forward, are not going to be met organically. But there's good and bad things, because like I've met most of the people that I consider friends are people that I have met through mutual common interests through the internet. It's not organic. Some of these interests are so specific. I never would have met somebody like that just waiting for them to show up and walk down the street and say hi. It would never happen. That's the beauty of the internet. That's the long tail of the internet. That's what that concept is. So I'd be interested, we'll talk about this over time in this series of videos, and we'll see where it leads. Maybe there'll be a resurgence of organic only type meeting in relationships. Because here, one thing to think about is, can you smell someone over the internet? At least not now. You have no idea what I smell like. Maybe in the future they'll There'll even be a way to take older videos like this, and I don't know, somehow there's some kind of digital ones and zeros going off of me, of my odor, that are picked up by this 4K camera, and you can get some device that's going to process those and throw them out at you as a smell. Who knows? I have no idea what's going to happen. Wow. All right. I think we've covered a lot of information here. Let me just reiterate. It's the internet, hypergamy, and the fact that women tend to out-earn men and are more highly educated than men nowadays. And it appears that way going forward. So it's the relationship recession. If you hadn't thought about these things before, I hope that this video has provided you with some insight. Please give me a thumbs up, and also please subscribe to the channel. And, it's kind of weird that I've moved in this direction here in the channel, adigitalnomad.net, but so much of this is incredibly particular and only made possible because of the digital lifestyle that everyone leads, that it needs to be discussed. So look forward to reading your comments, and I will be brainstorming on some of this more. It's kind of weird that I'm in my 50s, right? And I'm thinking about this because, I guess a lot of what got me thinking about this is thinking how people aren't motivated. They don't have the same drive as before. Like, but when I was growing up, there was no internet, and you had to go out there and actually physically do something. Now it's all digital, and the entire balance of relationships has been upset. Where it's going to land, that's what I don't know about. Hopefully this video provides you with some insight and allows you to kind of flesh this out and kind of see where things are going, especially if you are struggling with relationships. Let me know in the comments below if you are. I totally understand it. I totally get it. There's been little, in my mind, I've been single on and off. I'm not single now, married, but I was single on and off between 2009 and 2017. So during that time frame, I definitely saw a transition there. And, in the beginning of that phase, if I look back, all of the online dating was on your laptop. And then at the end of that, in 2017, it was all swiping on apps. So just that alone, there was a metamorphosis during that time. And I could see how, with a lot of these technologies, that's the thing. We're in the tech for relationships. There's a sweet spot in that tech. In the beginning, it's awkward and not many people use it. And then you get to this great sweet spot, this balance point with the technology where you can get some really good results and everything's amazing. And then you move beyond that where it's totally matured and it's kind of moving out of favor, and then it's not working anymore. And that's where we are. We went through that with the laptop, Match.com, if you remember that era, okay, and others. And then we entered the Tinder era, which also includes Bumble, which is where I met Denise, which I highly recommend. But I think we're outside of that now. That's why I feel the motivation to make this video is that we're into uncharted territory, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. And I would not take this lightly. Don't think that, oh, Mike, you're just overthinking this or overreacting or something like that. I don't think so. I'm concerned, I guess, but I don't know. I still know where this is going to go. I mean, you hear about people talking about sex robots, but that may be what's next. All right, laptop dating, phone dating, and then sex robots. Is that the next thing? Let me know in the comments. Something good to leave you thinking about. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.